and then hit this song. Oh boy! All right, turn that off. That was the Z-Man Brian Zane, singing blurred lines about Wrestling with Regret. I had to start off the show with a song from him. And if you do want to see more music videos from him, check out his Patreon at !PYO in the chat. That will get you. Let me make sure that works. Yep, patreon.com/wrestling with regret. This is a special Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as me and Brian interrupt our daily lives of parenting to bring to you another episode. Well, I bring to you another episode of Putting You Over, and Brian just allows me to hijack him for an hour. So, all right, let's see if we can get this down. So I'm going to click this button. I'm going to turn this little mixer thing up, and I believe we'll have Brian. Hello, hello. No, wait. Oh, time out. Hello, hello. No. Can you hear me? All right, you're good. You can.
All right, are we live, pal?
We are live, buddy.
All right, cool. I didn't know. I'm watching your stream, so there's the disconnect. But yeah, I'm watching the stream now. You see my reaction. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. And it's funny when you go back to you hear old stuff you did, and you watch old stuff you did. You think, man, that was so cool. You have the best ideas. I'm gonna do this Blurred Lines parody. It's gonna be so awesome. And oh man, it's like that was a little hard to listen to. I'm not gonna lie.
I really wanted to, and I asked in the chat to let me know on Brian's level. I really wanted to show the actual video because that makes it even better. But I was
the video's good. I think we can hear just the song by itself, though. It's like, Because there's a lot of sight gags in the video that I do like, but then there's the song itself, which compared to all my other parodies, that one could have been better.
Well, the reason I picked that one was because it was 2 minutes and 52 seconds, and like I wanted to play the Heels Lament. Lament, yeah, that's how you say it.
Lament is actually the word.
Oh, thank you. That's the one I wanted to play because everybody loves
that's like 6 minutes long. No, I would.
But see, you got me off on a tangent now. What is it that you will not actually do? You'll do anything for Heat, but what's the thing you won't do for Heat?
Excuse me. I always kind of interpreted the original lyric as, the part just before they go into the chorus when they say, the Meatloaf lyric is, and I'll never forgive myself if we don't go all the way tonight, which sounds gross now that I think about it, but it's it's a whole thing where it's kind of double negative, where it's like I won't not do this thing for love, and so to say I'll never forgive myself if I don't make kids cry tonight, and like I won't. It's really weird wordplay, and it's not perfect, but that's kind of what the whole that's what the that is in my interpretation of it. So that's kind of actually that's one of my favorite songs I did was Heels Lament, just because it was so long and epic.
It was.
I want to do more. I want to do more songs. I haven't done songs in a while. I haven't done one since the No Mercy video. But I have a few more that I'm thinking about and kicking around. But I need to get them recorded. And in the case of these videos I have envisioned, I have to hire people extras and stuff. And that just gets kind of that makes me want to black out just thinking about it, because it's just a level of logistics I don't really want to think about.
Yeah. The production level on them is second to none, and my daughters personally like the "Do You Want to Watch Some Wrestling?"
Yeah, kids like it because it's the parody of one of their favorite movie musicals of all time. So
yeah, she's like, "That's not the song, Daddy," and I'm like, "I know, it's a parody."
Yeah, somebody else told me that their kids said that too. I forget who it was now, but yeah, that's the first reaction. You think it's Frozen, but it's not Frozen.
It's not. No, it's not. So I was saying this to you before we came on the air, and I thank you for being here. If you don't know Brian Zane, ! PYO in the chat, get you all his links and whatnot. He runs a YouTube channel called Wrestling With there it is. See, good marketing right there. See, he can mark. Wait, where's my hand this way?
I see his shirt in the background.
There's a couple. My favorite is Dick Kick City. I love the saying Dick Kick City. I don't know why, and I don't know why the command did work. But so he runs Wrestling With Regret, and how I stumbled upon Brian and his channel is with my job. I work with children with autism, and sometimes they have issues where I have to physically pick them up and move them and whatnot, and this or that. And I hurt my back doing it, and I was out of work for a couple weeks, and I literally could not move at all. I laid in my bed, and I was like, you know what? I scroll through YouTube. I go, I've seen Wrestling With Regret. I've seen it up there. If you type wrestling in YouTube, you're usually the first one that pops up.
It's one of the first things up, yeah. It's pretty crazy.
And I never watched it. I'm late to the game in YouTube, basically. There's a lot of great content on there, and I'm late to the game. And I go, you know what? I'm gonna click it. And I clicked on I just clicked on one randomly. It was I think it was the kids pro wrestling, NWF. And I was like, what in the I was sold from the beginning, and then I binge watched all that I could while I was not working. But and you started off, you wanted to be a wrestler. I mean, we can delve into that if you want, but I'm gonna stick off that. But too long, didn't read it. Synopsis of Brian Zane. He and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. He went into wrestling for a year, maybe 20 matches or so. Found out, sorry, he couldn't cut it, and went into managing. And
20, I think 20 is a generous number. I didn't wrestle that much in that 1 year. It might have been 20. I don't know, but yeah, go on.
and then he well, you can still book him as a manager, which I think suits him perfectly because he does have a gift for gab. But then, so he started this channel, and so.
You pretty much nailed it.
I pretty much nailed it. It is go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's that was kind of the story of me as a wrestler. I trained for a couple years in Portland, Oregon, and then started having matches, but I don't think I was ever really ready. Looking back, one of the biggest criticisms I'd have for myself is that I could bump really well, but something I didn't really know how to do well was sell. And so I would bump, and I would just like fall and be dead, and that was pretty much it. And it was like that was the level. I would wait for the guy to pick me up and do the next move, and like it wasn't until like really near the end of my time wrestling that I finally picked up on that. And so, but it was just a thing where I was just jobbing all the time, and that wasn't the reason I stopped. But it was just like I knew I couldn't. I felt like I couldn't get beyond a certain point physically because I just didn't have the coordination to really wrestle. I wasn't very good, so it didn't look. And I have my old matches. Most of them are on YouTube, so you can look them up and from like 2006, and you can get an idea. But about a year later, I became a manager, and my daughter and dog have bombarded.
I'm waiting for my kids to come in too.
Zane, where are your pants? Yeah, it's the BBC interview moment. It's
it's fine. It's
and
fine.
Now the dog is freaking. Now the dog's trapped in here. Her bed is. Hang on, let me finish the story. This anecdote just a second.
It's fine. He had Zumbas on. Did anyone catch that? He had Zumbas on.
We're live. We're live, pal.
He's got Zumbas on.
So, it's fun being a parent, isn't it?
It's great. I'm waiting for my kid to watch.
But yeah, about a year into my time there, being a wrestler, the booker I was working for at the time in Oregon was like, well, you can't really work, but you can talk. We've seen some of your promos on YouTube. So, do you want to be a manager? And I thought on it for a day or two, and I thought, it probably would be best for me to do that. And so, yeah, I made the transition to manager in like 2007. And I've been doing that ever since. First in Oregon, and now more recently, in the last 7 years, I've been working primarily in Reno and in the Northern California Bay Area. And that is, that's pretty much what I think I'm pretty good at. I still, every once in a while, 10 years into it, I know I have some things I need to work on. And it's not, you're always trying to learn, you're always trying to improve. But yeah, that's my wrestling career as sporadic as it is, and every once in a while, once in a blue moon, I will still get in the ring and do stuff, but it's very limited. I actually just had a match a few weeks ago at the Cow Palace, which was a huge moment for me, and I was like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be part of this show. If you just look at my credentials, but it was great to be a part of that, and. Yeah, that's kind of like how I'm doing it. But I think I'll stick with my day job, which is Wrestling With Wregret.
Which is a full-time job for you. Am I speaking out of line? It is a full-time job for you. Now, how?
Yeah, as of last August, it became my full-time job. Yeah,
that's nice. Good. Yes, the Cow Palace. He's got to take the bumps there, Eros. You got to take. You took a bump at Cow Palace, I assume.
I took like 3. It was. Yeah, that's about as many as I can take in a year.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. Next year you'll do 3 more at the Izod, but so you realize you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna be main eventing in your house. You decide you want to do live stream. You come on the YouTube. You're watching the YouTubes, and what motivated you to put out the content that you do put out? And you can talk about what you do put out.
Yeah, well, I mean, for those of you who are watching who don't know, Wrestling With Wregret is a series in which I do, reviews of funny and tacky and bad things in wrestling history. Silly gimmicks and angles and characters, and I also do wrestling related movies and TV shows and video games. and it's really started to cover a very broad spectrum of things over the years. It's basically the nostalgia critic of wrestling. That's the way I describe it, and I take no shame in that because I pretty much blatantly copied his style, at least for the main reviews. And that was kind of my influence, my inspiration, because I'm a big fan of guys like Doug Walker and Angry Video Game Nerd and Phalus and Todd in the Shadows, and like a big fan of that whole genre of like guy doing scripted reviews, comical reviews on certain topics. But I was looking around at the time. It was about 2012. I was looking around like there's no one really doing anything for wrestling, And I think there's a lot you can talk about with wrestling in a video format. Like another one of my big influences is WrestleCrap, which has been doing it kind of like a blog format for a long, long time. And there's others that are out there that do it, but I think to me WrestleCrap is one of like the originators, or at least like the best known, in my opinion. Like I picked up on those guys in college, and that was a huge influence to me as well. So it's all so it's the nostalgia critic of wrestling, but it's also kind of the video version of WrestleCrap is the best way to describe it. But yeah, so it was just a whole thing where, yes, thank you for putting the link up there, K-Dog. It was just a thing where I saw the landscape of nerdy reviewers, and to put it in one way, and there's no one really doing wrestling. And so, I've got a TV production background and video production background. That's what I went to school for, and I consider myself pretty good at creative writing. Yeah. And I have the background in wrestling to have a unique perspective on things, and that's kind of how it all came about. But I kicked the idea around for a year before I finally pulled the trigger on it. So in 2013, about it's going to be coming up in 4 years in a couple of weeks. Right, I had my first episode of Wrestling With Regret, which is my Muhammad Hassan review, and then 4 years went by, and actually 2 years went by before I finally hit 1,000 subscribers, and then I really shot up from there due to a perfect storm of situations. And now here we are. Now I'm almost 180,000 subscribers and 2 million views a month. And it's pretty cool to now kind of be in this conversation of like one of the more popular YouTube channels. Whether or not I'm one of the good YouTube channels is up for debate, but I am definitely one of the more popular ones. The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you at Sacrifice.
I think it was Eric Bischoff said controversy creates cash. So whether they like you or they hate you, it doesn't matter as long as they're there for you. WrestleCrap mentioned him once. That's how this one viewer said he found you. How do you balance, as we saw earlier tonight, your family is getting bigger. How do you balance what you do with your family? Well,
it's always been an interesting balance, because when I first started this channel, I don't know if you can hear her screaming in the background.
We paid her to do that.
Right. Heel Toddler. Yeah, back when I did stream Back when I streamed occasionally on Twitch, you would hear Heel Toddler occasionally in my streams.
Someone grab that handle, E-Rush. Heel Toddler. We need that.
Yeah. So I owe my wife for this one. But no, when I first started this channel, I didn't have kids. And then, and I had a full-time job. And so this was a hobby. And then when I started, and then when we had the first child, that was always difficult to balance. Yep. It got to the point where it's like I was always like shooting and recording things at night and like editing in the morning. I'd get up and before the sun went up to do more editing and stuff. And then when we found out we were having a second child, it got to the point where I need to make a decision here, because there's no way I can do a day job, have this show, and be an attentive husband and father to 2 children. So something had to change. And luckily around that time is when my channel really blew up, and I was making enough money that I could leave my day job and do this. So and that's when I made the choice last summer to finally ditch that taco stand, so to speak. And and it's easy. It's easier now to do the job, but now I do treat it like a 9 to 5. My wife goes to work and my kids go to daycare, and I come here to this office and I work basically all day from pretty much 8 to 5, and then they come back home and then I try and close the office for the evening. There are some times when I think the requirements of my job, reviewing Raw and SmackDown, so I have some late nights on Mondays and Tuesdays, and occasionally on Sundays. So there's just times when I am working a little late and the hours are a little irregular, and every once in a while I'll try and take every chance I get to a little edit here, a little right here, in the evening. I always try and do a little bit. It's kind of an addiction in a way.
Yeah, I was gonna say go ahead.
That's kind of how I've been able to balance it. It's treating it like a regular day job because it is. It just happens to be from my office, my home. So that's how I've been able to balance it. But being able to make it my day job really helps because I can't even think of a way I would have been able to balance all this and a 9 to 5 somewhere else in a different office.
You probably wouldn't be able to. Or at least you wouldn't be able to put in the effort.
I wouldn't be able to do as much. That's for sure.
So
one video a month. So now I'm doing 3 or 4 weeks, so it's pretty cool.
And because the production value in your videos, because it's not a live stream. You write. I'm speaking for you, but I believe that you write out a script at least, or what the bullet points you want to hit, and you record it. How much time does it take to make one of your typical Wrestling with Regret videos?
It really depends. The long forms that I do, it takes me a couple of days just to write it. Mm-hmm. Make sure it's all clean and everything. Sometimes I'm lucky and it takes just one day. But then I shoot it, and sometimes it might occur on the same day I write the script, but that's pretty rare. So if it takes 2 days to write the script, then on the second day I'll shoot it. Then it takes another 2 days to edit it. So it takes me a little less than a week to just get the whole episode done and cleaned up. And then then what'll happen is I'll finish it up, I'll schedule it, and then I'll go back and watch it on YouTube, and I'll see a bunch of stuff I have to oh shit, I have to go back and fix that. I could have made this thing better, and so that joke didn't work, I had to cut it. So it's always a process in the days leading up to the eventual release. And sometimes there's some quality control that that slips by me unnoticed. For example, I just had a new video come out today of my review of Super Brawl 2000, and I gave it a C grade. Right. In hindsight, I should have given it a lower. But the graphic I had came up was an A grade because I used the same graphic from my Backlash review, which I gave it an A grade. I think one of the only people on Earth who gave it an A grade.
The recent Backlash?
Yes, the recent Backlash with the Maharaja, Jinder Mahal winning. But I copied and pasted that graphic because it was the same format, right. And I forgot to change it, and so now that was a great first endeavor with the classic pay-per-view reviews. Have a big botch on the graphic, but but I think and other videos don't take as long, but it's just still a lot of work because when I'm doing Who Wore It Better, I have notes in front of me, but I'm still kind of freestyling what I'm saying. There's not a lot of scripted dialogue as opposed to my long forms. And so there's times when I'm tripping over my words and I have to be careful, find out what I'm trying to say. And that, it takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to shoot any video I do, whether it's a long form or a Who Wore It Better or a pay-per-view review, just because there's a lot of content to fit in there.
That's why I just do things live, because I don't even have, I can't even imagine. I'm just late to the game on YouTube. Anyways, it's neither here nor there. So as I noticed with a lot of your videos, you do have, and I can hear my family just getting home now, footage, WWE footage, wrestling footage. Have you had any dealings with the higher ups at WWE about using footage of them?
No, I've had the occasional, ding for copyright, your video's blocked, sort of thing happening, but that's just comes with the territory. It's the risk you run when you do something like what I do, and like I said, the people who I have inspired me, guys like Phalis and Doug Walker, and people like that who use copyrighted material as B-roll. Over time, I believe I've gotten smarter with how it all works and how you can kind of, in a sense, beat the algorithm. Right,
use it but not use it. Right.
Well, it's just basically about, you can't use an uninterrupted 30-second clip of a match, Right. You can take tiny chunks of that 30 seconds and intersperse some graphics and still frames and change the order up. And that's a different way of doing it. I mean, if you look at my newer videos compared to my more recent ones, compared to like some of my first few, there's a lot more use of graphics and screen grabs and stuff, and they're everywhere, because it's like over time I just learned, like, oh, here's what works, here's what doesn't. So yeah, I mean, there's been times I've gotten, I think one time I got a strike on my channel, so like I had a time cap, on 15 minutes. That really only affected one video I ever did. It was my worst WrestleMania's countdown. But it comes with the territory, and fair use.
Fair use.
It almost never works as a defense in my experience, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
What you said just made me think of a little sidebar, little non sequitur. When the WWE has pay-per-views on Sunday night, and then so let's say Raw has a pay-per-view Sunday night, and then Raw comes on Monday, and they show highlights from the pay-per-view the night before. They never use live footage. They always use like a still image. They still do it till this day. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, I think that's just. I would imagine that's just. Well, I mean, and that's not. They're inconsistent, because I do remember. I've seen. Live moving pictures, Sonny. Talking to show highlights of a pay-per-view the previous night. But yeah, I mean, it's they definitely do stick with still images. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact it's like. You don't want to give too much away.
Right.
Like, you don't want to show too much of what fans might have missed, so it will entice them to go watch the pay-per-view proper. So that's just my take on it. I have a hard time believing that they're going to file a copyright claim on themselves if they show full clips of a pay-per-view the next night on Raw.
Right. I just don't know why they wouldn't just, like, I don't know. I guess that's just my thing. E-Rush likes how they still use stills. I suppose so. So you got your channel. It's growing, and we're going to touch on another subject soon. But where does the future hold for Wrestling with Regret? Like what's coming up? You've done collabs. You talked about music videos. Is there any? Where are things going?
That's an interesting question, because I don't even know. Because I think if you look at my channel from year 1 to year 4, it's drastically different.
Yeah.
And I could not have predicted any of those changes to happen. If you would have told me in year 1 I would have started doing a series where I cook stuff out of the WWF cookbook,
Kayfabe Kitchen,
I don't think I ever would have believed you, There was a point where I said, I'm never going to review Raw. I'm never going to do it, and now I do it every week, It's just like, and I initially didn't do pay-per-view reviews at all. But then, like, halfway through my second year, I stared doing it. It's just like these little things. And now I'm doing, Patreon, and I have a little Q&A, MP3, podcast sort of thing I have on Patreon. So I'm kind of, I'm never going to host a full podcast. That's never happening. But that's this Q&A Patreon exclusive thing I'm doing with audio. That's the closest it's going to be to a podcast for me. But, I'm always doing, classic pay-per-view reviews, and, it's just all these little things that kind of build on itself over time. And there are things I never really think about doing. I never have like a dedicated 5-year plan. Like, okay, here's what the channel's going to be like. It's really up in the air. I'm still going to try and keep doing the long forms as long as I can. There's always, the great thing about wrestling is it goes on forever, and there's always bad stuff to talk about.
I was going to say, do you feel like you'll ever run out of content doing the long form stuff, the nostalgic stuff? Might come to that one day. I mean, the reason I took breaks before now I can't take breaks because it's how I make my money. Yep.
But before, when my channel wasn't very big, I would take occasional multi-month breaks because I gotta recharge my batteries. I gotta find new content, new topics and stuff. So, but it's like I get so much input from fans, and I just every once in a while will find inspiration in things that the topics kind of write themselves. I think maybe one day I will have covered all the bad angles. I doubt it, because there's still
there's bad angles.
For all of the coverage I give to WWE, there's a world of stuff out there in WCW and TNA that I haven't even touched yet, and stuff in the 80s. I could look back and I could profile territories.
Oh my gosh!
There's really there's really kind of limitless as to
I think
what
it's limitless,
the channel's
personally.
capable of, but it's going to be it's going to be, if I do run out of content or ideas, it's going to be a scary time. But fortunately, I've got a good support system with my fans to keep me motivated, to keep pumping out stuff.
I agree with you. I think it is limitless with the territories. With all, I mean, you've done most WWE. I mean, you can,
and that's just because it's what I know best.
Yeah.
I started watching in '98, and I would go back and forth between WCW and WWF on Monday nights.
Yep.
And over time, I just became a WWF fan, and so that I'm aware of what WCW's done, but a lot of it's like, well, I don't. It's hard because most of what I talk about on my show are things that I have actually watched or witnessed. Like, I'll watch the movie before I review it, obviously, and odds are, if I'm talking about something that happened from WWF times, it's because I watched it and I know what I'm talking about. It's hard for me to think about jokes for crappy angles on Impact or WCW if I didn't watch them. Because I think personal experience really helps make jokes better. So
I agree with that. But all right, we'll touch one more serious topic and then I'll hit some other different bullet points. So YouTube says that wrestling content is offensive. Correct?
Well, I think you're paraphrasing. It's the whole not advertiser friendly thing is so murky because it's just a thing where YouTube isn't telling anyone anything. Right. It's just kind of all secondhand information, and I don't know if it's an issue of it not being advertiser friendly because even though I have taken a bit of a hit in my,
I was going to say, did you take earnings, a hit?
Yeah. Yes, I did. Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's the same level as what WCPW posted, where they're video with 1 million views at $40. Ridiculous. I'm still hurting, but not that badly. It's not like a 95% cut. It's it hurts, but I'm still getting pre-roll ads on my videos. I don't know what the difference is, and I don't know. My CPM feels consistent from what it was before Mania weekend when this whole thing happened. So I don't know if it's not advertiser friendly because ads still run on it, but it's just not. It's not producing the same amount of money as it was before, and I don't know why. My whole philosophy on it is just to weather the storm, and hopefully things will get back to maybe not the way it was before when the streets were paved with gold, but it'll maybe be something like it. That would be my ultimate wish, basically, is just to have things kind of get back to the way it was. Something close to it, something similar to it. I think that it's good that YouTube is, trying to limit the amount of hate speech and stuff like that. And I get why advertisers don't want to have their videos put on, videos that advocate terrorism or how to make bombs. It's just an issue of you gotta look out for the brand, and also it's not like television where you can pick and choose specifically what shows you want your advertisements to run in. With YouTube, it's far more of a wide net. So, and so it's tricky. It's a tricky topic because then you've got the whole free speech thing, and that's it's really difficult subject. I think, there's violent wrestling out there, there's offensive wrestling out there, but I think there's channels like mine and What Culture that don't hardly even show much actual wrestling, or it's commentary on it, or Steven Larson, what have you, and just they're suffering because, or JD from New York, or Joe Cronin, I could go on, who just talk about wrestling, and they're being punished for something that they have no control over. I'd love to see how much WWE is being affected by it.
That's what I was wondering.
I know they have a partnership with YouTube and everything, so I don't know if they're just immune to it all or what. But who knows? Again, it just sucks. I think what this is teaching a lot of people, including myself, is the need to diversify your revenue streams and not be 100% dependent on ad revenue. That's why I've started my Patreon account. Though admittedly, I was kicking around the idea of a Patreon months before this whole controversy happened. So, by the way, patreon.com/wrestling with regret.
I got it for you.
And so there it is. And so there's that. And also I'm looking into sponsorships. I just recently signed a sponsorship with a long-term sponsorship with SeatGeek, who I've worked with in the past. And that's hopefully going to be pretty helpful for me. But yeah, it's just an issue of just trying to find new ways to try and fill the void that's been left by some of the impact I've been feeling from the ad revenue crunch, so to speak.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question was, like, does that affect you? I would assume that it hurt someone like What Culture Pro Wrestling more with their live wrestling as opposed to someone that puts on a channel like yourself. And I think you covered that.
Well, I mean, and their whole philosophy, I mean, and you can question the logic behind it if you want, but the whole crux of WCPW's funding is based on ad revenue, and that was their downfall. The whole thing where, and WCPW is making money besides ad revenue. I think that's probably the biggest chunk, because when you factor in ticket sales and pay-per-view buys, then you get a nice little pie chart. But I mean, like they said, ad revenue is a big part of the deal for them. And, they're bringing in big names, and big names cost big money.
Yeah, that's true. You got to think of that. Big names cost big money. It's true.
It's rough. Like, when your whole business model is dependent on ad revenue, like mine was up until recently, then you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, and the Patreon's going well for you.
It's doing well. It's been around for about a month, and I have over 160 backers right now. It's been great, and I'm trying to always. It's like ever since I started the Patreon, I've been trying to come up with new ways to,
provide
new
back.
things to add. Like, originally I wasn't planning on giving, including signed WWF bubblegum cards in my $10 package.
I was gonna say that's a $10 tier.
No, actually, no, it's $20 now. I think it's $20. You get the access to the Q&As, and you get bubblegum cards. But I just on a whim decided to do it because I have them, and I'm not gonna mess with them.
You're not gonna save them.
Yeah, and I'm starting to do non-Big Four pay-per-view prediction videos exclusively for all Patreon backers, not just of a certain denomination. Mm-hmm. It's just I want to give back as much as I can to these fans, these patrons, because they're giving me their money, and that they don't have to do it, but they do, out of love and support for the channel. So I want to make it worth their while. So that's why I do it. And it's been great. I've been trying to, trying to make a worthy thing without trying to put myself through too much more work.
Yeah. You don't want to. You already have enough time. It's scarce.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of these third party sub type of things. Like you have Patreon. I use GameWisp for like my stream and stuff. It's the same deal. Did you look into anything else, or did you just go? You knew about Patreon and.
When I was dabbling in Twitch last year, I was thinking about GameWisp, but again, the reason I kind of fell off the Twitch wagon was because I could never be consistent enough, and it's not fair to try and do that. But like I said, I did think about Patreon for a while before I finally pulled the trigger on it, and the timing was an issue. Well, this is kind of pressuring me into to do it now. So yeah, it's that's now that there's this new circumstance for us content creators. I think there is a need to try and find other places of revenue. Yeah.
So. I was just curious because when I was thinking about joining GameWisp for the content that I put out, which I do in several different ways, I looked into Patreon and I was like, well, I don't know if that's my style, and I was just interested in.
It took me a long time to curate and craft what I wanted to do with the Patreon.
It's hard. Like, those tiers are hard. And you're like...
Right. It was an issue of just, like, how much... Like, what can I offer people is the price fair?
Right.
Is it going to put me through a lot more work? Because there was a period of time I was thinking where it's like, okay, for this amount of money, you can pick a topic, a long form topic for me to do. And I thought like, no,
and then you got to do
that.
it.
And I got to do it, and like maybe I don't want to. I don't know. So it became then I started kind of forming it, and okay, instead I'm going to do classic pay-per-view topics. Right. That takes doesn't take a whole lot more extra effort. I just got to watch the pay-per-view and review it the same way I do other pay-per-views.
Somebody submits, do a video on referees. Nick Patrick, Danny Davis, the fake Ric Flair. And then you're like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, or something like that where it's like the worst wrestler deaths. I'm like, I don't.
God.
Because, it just opens up a can of worms, and it would get to the point where I have to negotiate with people, and then like I have to be under a time frame to do a long form, and I don't want to be under that kind of time frame. I think if I do these pay-per-view reviews and Q&As, I think it's just more it helps keep me flexible. Yeah. And there was a time period where I was thinking like, okay, like I was thinking of tiers. I got to like tiers of like $100. I'm like, I thought about no one's gonna pay $100.
But you have to think, okay. But if somebody did, what would I give them?
Yeah. Right, and so it got kind of out of hand. But then I kind of like looked at other Patreon accounts of people I like Steven Larson. I've pretty much took their entire model and kind of altered it. I tweaked a few things, and like the Attitude Era podcast and How to Wrestling. That's kind of like those are some of my biggest influences for Patreon and like how to model my Patreon after. And so I decided, okay, $40. That's like the T-shirt tier, where you get the limited edition Stunt Granny shirt.
Yeah, can't get that anywhere else. That's right.
And I had to look it up first. Like, I hope no one's made a Stunt Granny T-shirt. No, nobody has. So
no, it's yours. It's yours now.
Yay me. Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, Patreon, it was just kind of a hard thing for me to kind of figure out. But like now that I have it, I think it's a really good system. I think I've got a good tiers in place, and I think the pricing is fair. As fair as as soliciting, asking for people to give me money can be. So there you
go. Well, you can see the question in the chat. Have you gotten anyone saying do a Chris Benoit video?
Yeah, I've had people. I mean, I did a video a long time ago about like how to find that balance between Benoit the wrestler and Benoit the person who did what he did.
Yeah, that's a fine line.
And it's a video now that I could one of those I wish I could go back and kind of write differently.
You kind of regret it.
Well, not exactly regret it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but it's I think that's one that I could have done more tactfully in certain respects, similar to my video about hijacking and cheering the heels and booing the faces. But like that's one of my videos I did a long time ago. I could probably return to the subject of Benoit at some point. I just need to find the right angle for it.
Yeah, you got to find. I
want to do. I want to try and do a continuing series of my worst champion. I did an episode last year where I compared Chris Jericho's first undisputed title reign to Rey Mysterio's first world title reign, and figure out who had, based on these parameters, whose title reign was worse. I wanted to keep doing that with different champions, and I think maybe comparing Chris Benoit to Daniel Bryan would be good because the way they won the belt was exactly similar.
Yeah, you're pretty much correct on that.
So
the fans drove that.
And so that's a topic I'd like to return to. I think Chris Benoit is definitely not off limits on my channel just because of what happened. It's just got to find the right angle to make it work, to have it make sense.
Yeah, but it's a very fine line because. Well, we don't. That's another show altogether.
Well,
I know. All right, so I got some bullet points of things that I literally wrote. I wrote thoughts on, and then I listed all these bullet points, and we might get to them all. I know that I told you I'd keep you for an hour, so we probably got like 15 minutes left or so. First one on the thing, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling on Netflix. What are your thoughts? You had a great video on that, I believe, right?
I've talked about like almost everything of ladies wrestling but Glow. It's funny.
Really? I swear I watched one on you with Glow.
Well, I did. I talked about Women of Wrestling, which was another David McLean project that happened in 2000. I did that, and I also talked about Wrestlicious, which happened in 2006.
That's what it was. It was Wrestlicious. That's what it was.
Wrestlicious is terrible. I actually met Jimmy Hart in Orlando this year, and I meant to ask him about Wrestlicious, but I totally forgot. And then, and it's interesting with Glow on Netflix. I'm really excited about it, but it's funny because like I watched the trailer for the show, and then I watched the documentary, which is also on Netflix, which they interview former people who worked for Glow, and then I watched the trailer for the show again, and I'm like, none of this is going to be based on like real life, is it? Because it's just so watching if you watch the documentary, if you haven't yet. It's a really good documentary, and I think it really does a good job.
It's on there now?
It's on Netflix. The Story of Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
I'm going to have to go watch that.
And like Ivory's in it, and a bunch of people who were like involved with the company. It was really good, and David McLean, like I don't know if he's a recluse or what, but like he had no part in the documentary. Seems like he's had no part in the show, because I'm watching it and like Mark Maron's character, I have no idea who he's supposed to be, kind of like the real life equivalent of. I don't see any kind of Mondo Guerrero equivalent in the trailer. Maybe they'll flesh that out once the show actually begins. It's because Mondo trained the girls.
Right.
So I don't know what's going to happen with the show, and like how close is it going to be to reality? Is it just kind of Glow in name only?
Right, that'll pull in.
And like I have to do more research on the original Glow, because I want to talk about Glow. I just don't know how to yet. There might be some mention of Glow. I do have an episode coming out that's going to coincide with the release of the Glow show. I'm not going to give away too many details as to what it is, but there will be some Glow mention, obviously, just to coincide with it.
And if you want to get that video early, you can subscribe to his Patreon. And get it 2 days early.
For $5 a month, you get it 2 days early for 24 hours.
For 24 hours. You do what you want with it.
Right.
Is kayfabe dead?
Yes. Well, no. It really depends on what your definition of kayfabe is. Like the whole idea of protecting the business and trying to convince everyone it's real, I think that's kind of gone by the wayside. I think you can do that with kids, but you have to be very careful about it. Honestly, really... No, kids younger than 8 shouldn't be watching wrestling, even though that's like my girl's watching wrestling with me when I watch it, so that's kind of that the fly is on that's not the toothpaste ain't going back in the tube. But I think the 8's a good age to like when they can figure out what's real and what's pretend, and you can explain to kids that violence isn't the answer and what they're doing. They're not really trying to hurt each other. But yeah, it's hard to try and like today. To try and lie to people and say that we're real athletes and we're they are real athletes, but we're trying to we are really trying to win out there. That's gone. But I think kayfabe today is just trying to work to suspend fan disbelief as the match is happening, and just really get people lost in the match. And there's different ways to go about it. I don't know the details of which I don't without rambling. I'm not going to get into here, but. That, I think, is what kayfabe really is. It's funny. I talked to one of my wrestling friends, my wrestler friends, I should say. He kind of laughs at the fact, or gets mad at the fact that, all these wrestlers are like, oh, kayfabe's stupid, why should we hold kayfabe? And yet they praise Matt Hardy for what he did this past year in TNA. Like, oh, I love how he keeps kayfabe. I'm like, well, you don't want to keep kayfabe. Why are you so excited when Matt does it? Why is it so important now? It's such a weird line to tread. It's a weird tightrope because the whole existence and sustained success of wrestling is predicated on the belief that they're doing this thing to each other. But if you just kind of sit back and you just kind of look at it as theater, then it's a different story, and you can appreciate it that way. So wrestling is all things to all people, and like I said, it speaks a universal language. So
said that earlier.
It's tough. I think kayfabe as what our fathers and grandfathers knew it as is dead. But there's still a bit of a glimmer of kayfabe in the smile of every child.
I mean, do you want to see a picture of Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman overseas?
No. That pissed me off.
No,
when I saw that. I
mean, kayfabe might not be dead, but we don't need to see that picture.
Right. Yeah, we know you're not really trying to kill each other, but at least go on separate touring groups. That's all I'm asking. Can you take a picture from the other side of the Coliseum with another group? that that did piss me off. Like there's kayfabe, but there's like not lying to people that you're trying to kill each other out there, and then there's just like spitting in the face of what these writers and what the wrestlers are trying to do. To me, it's akin to when you had that big ugly storyline between like Dolph Ziggler and Rusev and Lana and Ray, and then they had to kill it because Lana and Rusev got engaged, and they posted it on Instagram. Like, way to totally shit on everything that they've been working on, even though it was a contrived storyline, and we all knew Lana and Rusev were together. Like, you just totally crapped on it.
Spoiled it. You spoiled our show.
Yeah. Same thing happened with Reigns and Strowman. Exact same thing.
Yeah, I think a couple of the wrestlers that pop into my head that do keep it kayfabe on social media is somebody like a Jericho, somebody like a Samoa Joe. When Samoa Joe hurt Seth Rollins, that was a legitimate injury.
Well, some people would have you believe that it was not.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was, but I guess that's just me. But you didn't see him tweet out like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I put that rear naked choke too hard," and
people got mad. And for some people, it emphasized it like reinforced their belief that it was a work. But who really knows for sure?
You don't know. But
if it was a work, then it was a damn good work.
It was a damn good one. But Jericho does a great job as well. All right. Okay. Impact Wrestling president Ed Nordhelm. Thank you very much. Ed Nordhelm. He released, I guess is the word you're going to use, Pro Wrestling Insider, the inner workings of the broken brilliance between Impact. Thoughts on that?
Well, I'm no lawyer, but and I'm not sure where they are in the legal proceedings.
Neither am I, as well.
But I'm pretty sure that what they're doing is going to impact, is going to affect the what do you call it, the integrity of the case and the integrity of the suit. I'm pretty sure you can't do what he did. I was in mock trials in sophomore year of high school, so I have some kind of knowledge of legal wrangling. Damn it. It's weird, and I'm not sure what it's supposed to prove, because I read it and I'm like, okay, I don't know how this really absolves Impact of any blame, or
I didn't
how
get it either.
It doesn't prove that Matt's fighting for the gimmick, the rights to the gimmick. I don't know what it was supposed to really show. So it was confusing, and I'm not sure what it accomplished, and I'm not sure if it's legal. But it would not be the first time that some person in charge of Impact has shot themselves in the foot.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that poor Impact. They have someone running the company again, and just basically, like you said, shoots himself in the foot again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of Impact, since we're on there, I'll go to the next bullet point. Billy Corgan buying NWA. Thoughts on that?
When it first happened, I was really excited because I'm like, okay, like it's kind of a dead brand, NWA, but if you got someone with a fresh outlook on what wrestling should be, then maybe it could be cool. But then, like, you think about, well, the NWA is not really a promotion. It's like it's a franchise essentially. It's just a name. So the NWA is divvied up. It's like this represented by a bunch of different charters essentially. And some of them are good and some of them are not. Some just have to pay the annual fee and you're a member of the NWA, and that has all the prestige and history.
I should do that.
Yeah, I should be an NWA member. I wouldn't run any shows, but
just be an NWA member.
So I don't know. It's like, what's he gonna do with it? I don't know. Is he gonna try and like have a home base and just run shows from there and try and like revive the NWA brand? What's it gonna hold for the franchises out there? Who really knows? It's exciting that someone who clearly has a passion for it and apparently has the money to throw around.
He's got the money.
He's determined to throw money away by getting into wrestling. He can't wait to blow that money. It's just you have to admire his dedication.
That double album from Smashing Pumpkins is paying off dividends.
I guess.
I guess so. Right.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, it has given NWA the most buzz it's had since it was part of TNA. So hopefully some good things will come from it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I guess it all depends if you can get your, like in today's day and age with social media, and you got the Fight app and you got all the internet pay-per-views. I guess being on a network or a cable somewhere is not as important as it used to be. I mean, it is, but it isn't. I don't know.
Well, I think WCPW has proven that you can have a great audience and be exclusively online. Now with YouTube, that changing their shit, that who really knows? But
they're on the Fight app, right? I believe.
Yes, they're on the Fight app.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They had a pay-per-view today, actually. Hendry Mania.
That's right.
Oh my lord, he makes things better, Joe Hendry.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think and the thing is, TV is so just like set in their ways, and TV is still the dominant medium for like getting advertisers' message across and getting eyeballs on a product. But it's not going to be that way for long. In 10, 15, 20 years, it's going to be pretty much all internet. Yep. And it's the same thing what happened when there was the radio, and then there was the movies, and then there was television, and then there's the internet. Like, the people who are in charge of the old establishment can either roll with it, or they can be set in their ways, and they can fall by the wayside. And they can adapt, or they can perish. That's pretty much it. And television is at that point now.
I don't have cable.
Yeah, I cut the cord years ago.
Yeah, me too.
PS View, what? Of course, I have to have PS View in order to watch my Raw and SmackDown. So it's a work expense. It's a business expense.
Can you write that off?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I write off my PlayStation View subscription, among other things.
Could you write off your cable? Could you get cable subscription and write it off?
I mean, if you're using it for your job, which I do, yeah. So,
but you're just interesting. Look at that. Look at business here.
Yeah. Teaching you life lessons here.
Life lessons from Wrestling with Regret. All right. Let's. All right. I was gonna talk about Southpaw Regional Wrestling, but I don't know. Do you want to see more from that?
I'd love to see more Southpaw. Actually, I think it was very entertaining, and good, she has pants on now.
Well, that's good. Hi, sweetie.
Hi, sweet Jane. Hey, can you go, please? I'm about to wrap this up.
I'll wrap it up. Tell her I'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up.
No, I don't have a lock on this door.
That makes me feel so bad. That makes me feel bad. I'm keeping you from your daughter.
This is life. No, Southpaw Regional Wrestling was great. I want to see more of it. I don't know how far they can go with it. Again, the dog is trapped in here now, and it was a lot of fun. And I think it was great to see the wrestlers, many of which have like these serious gimmicks, like play more fun roles. And I'd love to see more of that. It'd be awesome. Maybe not every week because they don't want to really kind of kill the magic, but do it once a quarter.
Yeah. They should just in-network exclusive is what I would do with it, but
right.
All right, buddy. I'm gonna let you go. Before I let you go, to get with your family, I'm gonna be selfish one more time. Would you like to cut a station ID? Brian Zane from Wrestling With Wregret, and this is putting you over.
Right now?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I wish I had some props. Okay. Yes. All right. Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Here, I'll take my heads off for this. You can cut around it as you see fit. All right. My dog's gonna cut a promo too.
It's okay.
All right, here we go. Hey everybody, Brian Zane from Wrestling With Regret, and you're watching Putting You Over. Let me do one again, because I think I have a better one.
Perfect.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Zane from Wrestling With Regret, and the standing streamer, he's put me over, so now I'm putting him over with Putting You Over.